it is time for stitch number 8. This one is called brick stitch, and you can maybe see how it gets its name. The stitch lines are offsets, so it has a sort of brick pattern look to it. On this sampler version here, I have stitched it using 3 strands of embroidery thread. You can stitch it with 2, but I think with 3 you get more of a feel for the pattern of the stitch and it adds more texture to it. But try it with 2 and see which you prefer, or try it with 4. You might like that better. Here's another version. I think this is also done with 3, or maybe 2 actually. I'm not quite sure. So it's a really fun stitch to experiment with changing colors, both in sort of block colors that I've done here, and just sort of randomly changing the colors as I've done in this version. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to use a solid color or a range of colors for my H in the sampler. So let's have a go at brick stitch. It's really easy. If you know back stitch, this will be really easy for you. If you're using a knot, start with the first stitch at the end of the line. And this is purely so that when you do the second stitch, you're not stitching into a knot. So just do, as the first stitch, do a forward stitch. But then the rest, do them as back stitches, so each stitch goes back towards the previous one, and you insert the needle in the same hole. There shouldn't be any gaps between the stitches when you're working back stitch. Right, so now I'm almost at the top of this line here, and I've got approximately half a stitch left, and ideally this is what you want, because when I do this last half stitch, then when I do the next column of stitching, I come up at the halfway point of the second to last stitch I did in this column, and then I end this stitch where I ended the last stitch, and you can see this is pretty much the same length as one of the other back stitches. And the next one, I come up roughly halfway, and I keep going like this. And now I'm at the other end, so I'm doing the last full length stitch, and then I need to do another half length stitch to finish this column of stitching. And then when I start again, start halfway along the penultimate stitch, do a full length stitch, and then I work my way back up. And I'm alternating the placement of the stitches so that it creates this brick pattern. Now I'm almost at the end, so there's my last full-length stitch, and then I do the half-length stitch to finish the column, or the row of stitching, depending on how you're holding it. So let's have a look at the H. I'm just going to start at the bottom here. And I think I'll start with a short stitch. And then I'll work my way up this outer line, doing full length of the stitches. It doesn't always work out so neatly that you have exactly just full length stitches and one half length stitch. Sometimes you have to start with a half length and end with a half length, and sometimes you have full length at both ends. But then what you can do is start with a half length stitch. So let's see how it looks when I get to the end here. Maybe I should have marked it out so I knew beforehand. These stitches are a little bit longer than I would normally do my back stitches, but I think for this type of stitching it doesn't really matter. I think it actually helps to show the pattern. Okay, so now I'm at the top, and it actually worked out that I had a full length stitch. So now I start my next column with a half length stitch, and then the next stitch I come up halfway along the previous, insert into the hole with the half stitch, and then I carry on. And then I should hopefully end with a full length stitch when I get to the other end. So let's see. The popping noise you can hear is because my needle is perhaps a little bit too small for the thickness of the thread. So I have to pop the thread through a hole that's a little bit too small for the thread. But never mind. I can still pull it through the fabric. Right, so now I'm at the end. And I ended with a full length stitch. And now I'm ready to start the next one with a half length one. And just carry on like this, filling up the whole shape of the stitch. And actually I don't mind if at some point I ran out of this thread. I might change it to a different color, even if it's mid row or mid column here. I quite like that. I think I've done this here actually. That's why they're not all the same width. So I have fun with experimenting with the stitch. The tutorial you have just watched is part of a series of 31 stitch tutorials that I have made to go along with the pattern for this embroidery stitch sampler. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want to check out the pattern, you can find the link in the description. And whatever you're making, happy stitching.